Hey, Doug.
Doing.
Looks like Jackie's not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, she.
Jackie Frazier.
Yeah, she indicated she might not.
All right. How you doing, Matei?
Hey, all good, you?
Doing very well, thanks.
Cool.
All
Is
right.
this like bi-weekly call or something?
You know what? I was going to recommend that we set up a biweekly call today, and we get this thing established so that way we have a touch point instead of just using the monthly that we had set up for ideation where we could invite other people. I figured this would be a good place for us just until we get to a point where we have enough work in the backlog and we're just kind of, moving along quickly. I think would be really, really helpful. So,
Makes sense.
Yeah. And I am recording this just for the rest of the expansion team, and I'll post it to the growth channel so that way everybody can see what we're up to. But we can kind of go right through it here. Got a couple of items down here. One is a new idea. Is to embed content from the demos pages in the product empty states to improve feature adoption. So I was looking at the strategic marketing group conversation for today, and in there they have a link to a handful of demos that have been created, and I think it's pretty interesting. So I wanted to kind of get your take on it.
Are these the video demos or the marketing click-throughs that we once discovered as well?
These are the actual demos. So I'm thinking, can we just embed some of these videos right into the empty states of the product itself? So that way when a user finds it, they can click on it and actually just interact with a video. Or maybe it's just the button that they can click on that then drives them to the video on this page. Just a couple of ideas.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So these videos are, well, they're not that new. It's funny because I never knew that we had these until just like a couple of days ago, and I thought it was like a new thing. But I see this one is from August 2019, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And they're 18 minutes long.
Yeah, they're pretty.
Long.
Some of them are pretty long. A handful of them are outdated, but I feel like there's probably some good ones in there. And if we do our due diligence, we can identify essentially the next, right, like the next best thing that a user should educate themselves about for either an upgrade or just driving deeper feature adoption. I think it would be really helpful.
Yeah, I think an intro video. You said they're 18. Some of them are like 18 minutes. I think that's way too long.
Yeah.
I mean, they're good to have if somebody wants to go to this next step, but it should be like an intro that's probably no more than 2 minutes for them to get first.
Yep.
Yeah, and some of them are actually 2 or 3 minutes long, and they seem to be quite, well made. How should I describe it?
Yeah, the production quality is very high.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these are, as you said, pretty much ready to just either embed them or link to them as an MVC at least, right? And see, does it have an effect?
Mm-hmm. Cool. I'll take this one as a to-do. I'll write up an issue for it, and we can get to work on it. Mate, you and I can figure out what it'll look like, and we'll get it moving.
Yeah.
Cool. So number two, what we're currently working on. So what I did was I've just linked in here the workflow dashboard, so that way we have a more holistic view of all of the items that we've got in the pipeline. And this does both. It shows the actual workflow validation all the way through the build track. So you've got the validation track and the build track all in one view here. And this is just what I just wanted to surface it, so that way I know we're all in here every day working on some of these things, but I just wanted to make it very apparent that we've got these swim lines. We're going to start really following suit and using the workflow labels. And then also use this time to, identify any, blockers and get a quick status update. So I think we can just go right into it. It looks like right now what we have, and Doug, I apologize. I'm not able to bring in, I have to create a separate view for versions, for the versions project. So I don't really have this. Yeah.
I put that as a topic at the bottom, but maybe we should talk about it now, since you're talking about it. So I see there's a new board that Phil created, and that one's not going by milestones. And I was trying to find the links to the milestone ones that we were going by. And so I don't know which ones. So for me, the trigger, I thought after our discussion last week, our trigger was going to be if it's in our milestone on the by milestone board, and it either has workflow scheduling or no label at all or ready for development, then we'd go ahead and pick it up. That's what I thought my trigger was. And now this new board came out, and now I'm kind of back to square one.
Yeah. So when I went and I just did a bunch of research on this, and I spoke with a bunch of other people, and it also sounds like they're going to make that page a little bit more clear and easier for people to understand with a nice graphic. But the handoff point really is when, so I go through the validation track, I identify a problem, create a hypothesis. Maybe it's an experiment. We write an issue. If it needs design, I work with Mate to get those designs created. And then what we do is we sit down and we validate the issue. We scope out the designs, and then it moves on to essentially engineering. But before it moves on to engineering, if it's a big enough issue, we sit down and we do essentially a planning breakdown, which would involve UX, engineering, and PM all together looking at the issue as a group. And from that, what happens is essentially the breakdown or the writing of additional issues. So if there wasn't enough context for engineering to pick them up, or if additional designs were needed, that's when we would identify that. Once that's done, it moves to ready for scheduling. And ready for scheduling is really the notification to our engineering manager for them to say, okay, now I can go schedule this. One of the core things I feel like we may have missed when we were at Fast Boot in Vancouver was product is responsible for the what, and engineering is responsible for the when. So it's going to be our engineering manager's job to really kind of schedule out those milestones. I can figure out or estimate or say, hey, I need to have this done by 12/8 or 12/9 or 12/10. But really it's dependent upon the engineering schedule. So I can only take it up to a certain point. And when I spoke with Phil last night, he basically said, once it gets to scheduling, it comes over to us, and just if we have any questions, we'll come back to you. and if not, there shouldn't be any, don't even give it any other consideration until you hear back that it's live. So that's my understanding of it, Doug. So the trigger for you really would be once it moves from design or goes through the validation track and then it hits scheduling. That's when our EM is going to then say, okay, this is ready for development. And what that means is he would have gone through, or the engineering manager would have gone through and said, okay, this can be scheduled on this date for this milestone. It has this weight, all that kind of stuff.
So our trigger should be milestone and a what label, if I'm looking at them?
Be workflow scheduling. That's when it moves from validation to eng. But then I guess really the one that you would want to be looking for in your chair as an engineer would be ready for development, because it's gonna be in that kind of scheduling queue until Phil says, yep, it's scheduled.
Okay, so milestone should be the current milestone we're on, and then ready for development. I updated the doc that you have there, number 5, and just validate that I wrote that correctly.
Yep, that's accurate, right? Because and then the step before that is ready for scheduling, right? Which is me indicating to Phil that this is ready for your team to be scheduled. And then once,
yeah, that's what I interpreted from our handbook page, that because between the two stages it didn't say that you would be removing the scheduling label or not, and so that's why it's like so I guess between that is Phil, I guess.
Correct. Yep. So there's
and it's he'll mark ready for development or
exactly, because it'll provide a nice buffer and some additional opportunity for improvements around some of the issues that are coming down, right? So Phil can look at them and say, wait a minute, our engineers aren't going to know what to do with this. There's not enough detail here. These are the things that you're missing. Help me validate, help me fill this out further, make it more robust and easier for the engineers. And I think that'll be really important for us.
Okay. And so then it really doesn't, then I can really probably, I don't know which board to look at now, by Milestone or the growth build board, but the growth build board doesn't filter by Milestone. So that was confusing me as well then.
Well, let's take that as a to-do, and we can circle up with Phil and have him chime in and see where he wants us to focus specifically for engineering. I would imagine that it's the build board, but I could be wrong. And when I think about milestones for our traditional product group are really, really important, because we're trying to deliver product features and on a very scheduled and specific cadence. Maybe we're trying to ship something new for a product for a customer who requested something. And growth, it's a little bit different. My gut tells me, and we should probably figure this out with Gila and the rest of the gang, is that our milestones aren't necessarily dependent upon I should say our deliverables aren't necessarily dependent upon a milestone. So I would say that the milestone is just a way right now for us to track deliverables by milestone. Our OKRs are actually aligned with the fiscal quarter, right? Which is
right. I'm just using the milestone as a way to know which ones to work on first.
Right. Yeah. So priority order. Maybe we can just solve that by using the actual workflow board and just making sure that we have the next issue in priority order from top to bottom. And
okay. Yeah, and then I put in there the link, and I see when I go to that build board that if I look for ready for development, it looks like a lot of Matei's a lot of Matei's issues are in the ready for development.
I was going to ask about this actually. So I changed, I think 4 issues, right? The ones for creating the nudge designs for the MR suggested pipeline stuff. I changed them today from design to ready for development. But if I am understanding this correctly, based on what we just said, I think I should have changed them to workflow scheduling.
That's how I read it.
But your issues are underneath UI-UX, which to me says that they should kind of be closed then at that point. Because I'm not sure I should be working on your issue. I mean, I should use your issue in our engineering issue to know what to do, I guess, or have that content somehow in our engineering issue.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that works.
Okay, so yeah, because we have these separate projects in our growth group.
Mm-hmm.
So should we, I think that what makes the most sense would probably be just to close those issues and then change the labels on the corresponding engineering issues.
And update the info or update the description with what you have into there or something. I don't know.
Because I think they're marked as related. I think I did that today as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are related, and that's how I would probably do it. Is close these so that way we know that Matei, you're done on these. These were closed, and then for this. In this instance, we'll just update the engineering issues. And I think if we were to step back, maybe this is a good example of, that planning breakdown conversation that needs to happen. I created 2 child epics underneath the MR for no pipeline issue, right? And one was for design and one was for engineering. Maybe we don't need to do that, right? Maybe it could have just been, these are the issues that we're going to need designs for. And then once they're done, they just work through the workflow board. It's just habit. That's old habit coming from me. So my past lives, I used to create mini epics for design, mini epics for data, mini epics for engineering.
I think it depends on how Matei is quantifying his work at the end of the sprint. If he's quantifying it by closed issues that that were assigned to him, then what's done here is correct. If not, then what you say is correct.
I'm not quantifying the issues. I'm not required to, because we're not. Our performance is not judged based on the number of issues we close. So I think, and what we have been doing so far, or what I did with the managed team when I was on manage, and what I've seen other teams do as well, is just use the same issue and move it through, the validation stages, design stage. Then once it's ready, in this case, that's why I also did this. I changed it to ready for development because that would be the progression that we used so far. Mm-hmm. So that you have that issue where the solution for the issue is already in that issue, right? Everything is described, all the designs are attached to it. So you don't need to move all that content to another issue, right? We should have like a single source of truth, which is that issue, and it just moves through all these stages. So that's how I was used to doing stuff until now. But yeah, I don't mind if we want to separate design and engineering issues. So yeah, we should just decide, I guess.
Yeah, I think sticking with how the rest of the organization is operating is the right approach, Matei. So how about for this one, we can just update. I'll update these issues, and I'll get rid of the ones that are associated with these from an engineering perspective, and I'll just close those out and put a comment in why. And then moving forward, we'll just make sure that we address these during the planning breakdown stage.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the assignees change throughout the process, right? So initially the product manager and the designer is usually assigned. And when the validation is done, and I guess we then move it to scheduling, that's when the engineering manager, I assume, should be assigned, right?
Yep, that's
and
correct.
then the engineering manager assigns a software developer, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
So we've determined we're not going to create issues in the product that we're affecting, but we will create issues inside the growth area and work off of those. Is that correct?
For this specific experiment? Yes, it's
Okay.
It's all in the growth project. So
Okay, and so then the UI UX issues that are currently open, you're going to convert to be engineering issues and close out the duplicate engineering issues. Is that correct?
that's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they just need to be combined because the content is not actually, there's some specific content on those engineering issues I saw, because I actually had to fix something today. So I think you'll need to combine the current content of the design issues with the engineering issues so that nothing is lost.
Mm-hmm. And so then we'll deprecate UI-UX issue creation in favor of going through the workflow. Okay.
All right. Quick status, Doug. It looks like you've got the next one.
Yes. The next one. So what I'm currently working on is that since I have not seen any that are actually ready for engineering development, besides a few customer application bugs, I've been focusing on the version app still. So we're linking trying to figure out how to link the version application to the customer application in the UI. And we determined that the Zora account ID, which I can capture from when we push the usage ping to Salesforce, which backended into fixing the background workers that we're pushing to Salesforce, that we can get the Zora account ID, record it on the version application side, and then find a way to hit that page that we want to underneath the admin customers area, which is allowing the sales team to then go and impersonate the customer and deal and work with the customer to modify things for them. So right now I'm diving into how to do that, how to get that query to work on the customer application side, so then we can hit that link with the Zora account ID instead of the ID from the customer application database. Then I'm still working on the sorting by edition.
Okay.
And in that one had a bunch of background work to do to get to the point to be able to do it. And so we're still working on that piece, and those parts are in review right now.
Okay, great. Do you have any estimate on timing for that one? I know that was an important one for KMac and the folks over in sales development.
Should I? So if I factor in, like, let's say a merge request review time of same day, let's say, and it all goes through, I would say hopefully beginning of next week. If the reviews take a little longer, then a little longer.
Perfect. We're just about at time. If we have 5 more minutes, I'd love to just kind of go through, because I woke up this morning and it felt like Christmas in my inbox. I wanted to. Matej, did you want to give us a quick update?
Suggesting a pipeline on merge requests without a pipeline.
Yeah.
Yes, I wrapped up the designs. They're not that different from the initial mockups, which I guess it's a good thing in a way. We'll see how successful it is in the end, right? But I still want to do, so I spoke to this, to Jackie about this today as well. The popover that we initially show, right? It's quite an aggressive way of, nudging people towards doing something. So I still have two ideas that we could do it in a softer way. I just need to quickly mock them up or design them, and I'll attach them to that main epic that we have, so that if we get a lot of negative feedback in the experiment, right, like you're disrupting my work or whatever, we can still have these alternatives that we can possibly use. But yeah, I managed to wrap those up. The next issue that I'm working on is a bit more retention focused, actually. But it should be a quick one. But based on my past experience with working with retention, things that look small actually turn out to be quite big. So I hope this isn't the case here again. And I'm planning to start working on the next UX scorecard next week, which is by CI minutes. So we should get a lot of possible work out of that as well, right?
That's great. Thanks for the update. Doug, it looks like you have one blocker. So these are just the MR reviews that you were talking about just a minute ago.
Yeah, since I added the reviewer roulette to the version application, it's by definition slowed me down, and so yeah. So I look at those as blockers because it's blocking me from doing the work in the end. If it takes more than a day.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Item 3 is what we want to work on next. Let's just skip over that one as Matej and I continue to build out the backlog. And then I feel like a good opportunity really just to do a quick OKR status check. One of the questions I had for the team here was, do you have OKRs for your sections similar to the product org? So for instance, product expansion is responsible for 1 deliverable per week. Right now we're sitting at, I believe, 18 for the quarter, which is great. Means that we've achieved our goal. And then the second one is that we have to make material improvements to direct sign up, trial, true up, upgrade, etc., which we're doing. We've done that in the version app. We've done it through the CI bug fixes, and also some of the issues that were addressed by Jackie. So I feel like we've got Q4 fiscal year 20. We check the box, and then for fiscal year Q21 Q1, that's the same thing. 1 deliverable per month, and so it's a total of 4, right? For the month per week, sorry. So that gives us 12 for the actual quarter, and then we also have to make material update enhancements to the workflows that we're responsible for. I'm going to be tracking those here and talking about them. I'd love for you all to do the same. I think it's really important that we all understand where the overlaps are for our groups to be successful as a team. So if you don't mind just adding them to this doc when you get a chance, I'd really appreciate it. If it's 10 MRs a month, Doug, that engineering is responsible for, it'd be nice to know that. Or if you have to make material improvements to X or address 7 bugs or whatever those are, I think that's helpful. And then, for UX, I'm not sure what yours are, Matej, but it would just be really helpful, I think, for the team to have better cohesion, to understand exactly, what we're focusing on, knowing that we're driving towards a KPI of net retention. Also understanding what we're being measured on is really important.
That's a good point. I've always heard the 10 MR, but it's not. It's more of a fuzzy qualification, so I'm not sure what it is. And I'll let Phil respond to that one.
Cool. All right, y'all. Thanks for staying 5 minutes over. It's 11 o'clock. We better jump.
Okay. Great.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.